Hello students, now in this audio presentation I will actually complete the final part of the chapter birth. As you know that the child is alive after a long desperate effort being made by Andrew Manson. Now let's see, we are moving on to the final part of the chapter. I will repeat the dialogue with which I ended my previous audio presentation. The dialogue was being uttered by the midwife or the nurse. And what was the dialogue? Dear Father in heaven, the nurse sobbed hysterically. It's come alive. Andrew handed her the child. He felt weak and dazed. About him, the room lay in a shuddering litter. Blankets, towels, basins, soil instruments, the hypodermic syringe impaled by its point in the linoleum. The ewer knocked over, the kettle on its side in a puddle of water. Everything, medicine, syringes, every important medicinal things are almost littered around, or rather to say in other words, are all scattered around the entire room, because a battle was won after a long hard struggle. It's a battle to save the life of the child as well as the life of the mother, because it was a very critical delivery case, because Susan and Joe Morgan, they were about to have their first child after almost 20 years of marriage. So it was a special occasion as well as it was a very delicate surgery of delivery that was being done by Andrew. But after the delivery was done, the child was born lifeless. Then the feverish effort being made by Andrew, as you know by this time, putting the child in hot water as well as in cold water basin, and finally going on pumping and following all those processes related with massaging the body of the child in order to get back life into his lifeless body. But finally, with a bubble of mucus came from the nostril of the child, it made Andrew realize that the child is alive. And finally, it was confirmed, his faith and his optimistic faith was confirmed when the child went on crying. It made Andrew very happy, but most importantly, the nurse went on crying because she thought that the entire life of the child is over. And that was the reason she put the child under the old newspaper. But when she found that the child went on crying, she got very, very happy that finally it was Andrew who saved the life of the child. But previously she never ever thought it will happen, but yet yes, it happened because of the dedication, because of the courage, determination and resoluteness shown by Dr. Andrew Manson. Andrew handed her the child. Her means the midwife or the nurse. He felt weak and dazed. He was feeling very weak. He was feeling very exhausted because he hardly slept for 1 hour also. So he was feeling very weak. He was feeling very exhausted. About him, the room lay in a shuddering litter. I am repeating these lines once again, dear students, so that you can understand and you can feel like the situation in front of your eyes. Blankets, towels, basins, soil instruments, the hypodermic syringe impaled by its point in the linoleum, the ewer knocked over, the kettle on its side in a puddle of water. Everything was lying littered or scattered. As I told you, a battle was being fought, and it seems that Andrew had won the battle against death and brought back the child to life. Upon the huddled bed, the mother still dreamed her way quietly through the anesthetic. Yes. Now, Susan Morgan, she is not totally active. Now, we can't expect her to be active right now because she is still under the trance, under the sense of that anesthesia, under the impact of that medicine or anesthesia. So, slowly and slowly, she is actually getting back her senses. So, we can't expect her to be very active right now because of the impact of the medicines that was being given or injected on her. Apart from that, because of the impact of the anesthesia that was provided to her, she was regaining her senses, but not in a very active manner. Slowly and slowly, she was regaining her senses. The old woman still stood against the wall, but her hands were together. Her lips moved without sound. She was praying. The old woman means Susan Morgan's mother and Joe Morgan's mother-in-law. The 70-year-old woman, it was a miracle to her also, because she also lost all hope of seeing the child alive. But because of Andrew's dedication, that is the reason the significance of the chapter is also related with, ironically, the birth of a doctor. That became very clear because Andrew was very optimistic in saving the life of the child and to bring the child back to life from the jaws of death. And Andrew was successful in that. And so the 70-year-old septuagenarian lady, the mother of Susan Morgan, she went on praying to God because it was no less than a miracle. Mechanically, Andrew wrung out his sleeve, pulled on his jacket. Andrew pulled on his jacket. Now let's see. I will fetch my bag later, nurse. He went downstairs through the kitchen. Remember, the kitchen was downstairs. Remember, previously he was sitting near the fireplace in this room only. Then he was called, he moved upstairs. Again he came back to the kitchen room that was downstairs, into the scullery. Now scullery, it is written in the footnote, the meaning of scullery, dear students. Please pay attention. See, it is written, a room for washing dishes and for similar work. It is like a wash basin. The other way to define the meaning of this scullery, SCULLERY, it is like a wash basin. His lips were dry. Andrew was feeling thirsty. The clear indication is that this line, his lips were dry. Being a literature student, you have to read in between the lines. This shows, see this line actually, his lips were dry. This line actually shows that Andrew was feeling very thirsty. At the scullery, he took a long drink of water. He reached for his hat and coat. Then he reached for his hat and coat because the victory owned. Finally, his medicinal knowledge became triumphant. He became victorious, and it is something no less than a miracle. It boosted his confidence because he started his career fresh as a doctor. This is a hugely successful thing that he did, and really his confidence became sky high after this miraculous or miracle recovery of the child, we can say. Now at the scullery, I am repeating this line, he took a long drink of water. He reached for his hat and coat. Outside he found Joe standing on the pavement with a tense, expectant face. All right, Joe, he said thickly. Both all right. Actually, both all right means both your wife and your son all right. Both are perfect. That means both the mother and the child, both are perfect. Both are medically fit. It was quite light, nearly 5 o'clock. Yes, it is now almost dawn. I already told you, the first streaks of light was already been seen. Now it's almost morning. Now, obviously, the area or the place has already been brightened by the light, or it is slowly getting brightened up by the light of the sun, because it is already dawn, or we can say wee hours of the morning, WEE. Wee hours of the morning means early dawn phase. DAWN, dawn. So let me continue. All right, Joe, he said thickly, both all right. It was quite light, nearly 5 o'clock. A few minutes were already, a few miners were already in the streets. Okay, as I told you that Blaine Ely is a working class community here. The workers are mostly miners and drillers. Joe Morgan profession was a driller, but I told you it's a working class community where mostly the people, they are not intellectuals to that extent. They are mostly miners and also workers. Maybe some of them are farm workers, some of them are miners, some of them are drillers like Joe Morgan himself was. The first of the night shift moving out. As Andrew walked with them, spent and slow, his footfalls echoing with the others under the morning sky. He kept thinking blindly, oblivious, oblivion. Actually, the root word is oblivion, forgetful of whatever is going on in the outside world. He is in his own zone. He is in his own groove. He is in his own zone of thinking and ideology, forgetful of whatever is happening on the outside world. That particular state is known as numbness. Numbness, or we can say oblivion. So I repeat, he kept thinking blindly, oblivious of all other, and also it is known as forgetfulness. I mean, totally paying no attention of whatever is going on in the outside world. He is actually engrossed in his own world of thought and ideology. So I repeat, oblivious to all other work he had done in Blaine Ely. I have done something, oh God, I have done something real at last. And he felt that satisfaction that he can't share with anyone. He can only share with himself, and most importantly, he can share with God. And finally, look at the last line. The last line is very important for your question answers. Whether it is a short question or broad question, the last line is pretty important. See, oh God, I have done something, oh God, I have done something real at last. At last, I have done something real. I have done something that I can be proud of. And this has given me ample confidence to move on in my career as a doctor. I have done something real at last. I haven't done it for anyone else. I have done it for the sake of science and for my own self. And finally, it's a big breakthrough. And this victory gave a lot of moral boosting to Andrew that can be found in this line. God, I have done something real at last. Yes, I think I have done something real. I think that the saving of the life of the child will take me a long way in my professional career as a doctor. I repeat, the saving of the life of this infant child that was considered to be stillborn, that was considered to be lifeless, my desperate, frantic effort ultimately brought life back into the life of the child. I have taken out the child from the jaws of death and provided it life with my medical treatment. I think I have done something real at last. And obviously this particular incident will take him a long way in his career as a doctor. So I hope that it is clear to you all, dear students. I hope you have understood the remaining part of the lesson. With that, I end this chapter. Dear students, please listen to this audio presentation very carefully. And if there is any doubt, do let me know. Thank you, students. Thank you all.